Yo, I think I just came to realize. No, I don't think I did just come to realize. Again, I've gone through this realization twice now, where it gets brought into my awareness that anxiety is either past trauma coming up or your body's intuition system trying to point you in a different direction. And maybe this isn't fully, like, I'm not a whatever certified PhD whatever, but from my experience and from the research I've done, and I've studied my behavior and emotions for the last decade of my life, and I don't know, ask yourself, does this resonate with you? Does what I'm saying resonate in your body? Ask your own body. Your body knows, your being knows, you know. Trust yourself. Don't trust this lady talking on the screen, or any lady talking on the screen for that matter, or lady, man, other. Because our beings know, and this is a perfect transition into what I want to share, because our beings know. And so if your being is like, if you're experiencing a lot of anxiety, if you're experiencing a lot of emotions that are uncomfortable in your body, it's your body communicating to you. Sometimes, and this is only from a personal experience, so again, like, check in with yourself. Does this resonate with me? When I have anxiety come up, it's my body telling me, like, as an example, I was making the effort to try and make plans for this evening. It's New Year's Eve, and I don't want to go out. Like, I'm not into I'm doing ceremony day, drinking my tea, and me and Blue are coming from the beach where we just had a really good cry and burned some stuff, and I'm going to continue to do this throughout the day because it just feels what's right for me. And there's a seagull on the road. Strange. Symbolic. And so I was trying to make plans for this evening. I wanted to do like dinner with friends. Blue's trying to veer me off the road here. Do dinner with friends, or like a game night or something like that. And that was like giving me anxiety. Like the thought of like, and I was like, I didn't really realize like that is what was giving me anxiety. It was the thought of like having to commit to make plans to something that maybe feels out of alignment for me right now. Like, I feel really actually introverted, but a part of me, societally conditioned part of me, or wants or thinks that she should be like going out and socializing and hanging out with people and whatever. And because I'm not much of a drinker and I don't want to, what is going on around me doesn't resonate. Like, I don't want to party. I don't want to stay up till midnight, and it's just I'd rather like go to an ecstatic dance and whatever. That's just what floats my boat. And in each to their own. Like, if you're the other type or half or whatever way your boat floats, float that boat. I respect it. But for me, I really just, it feels like a very sacred day to like let grieving happen, and let like a lot of contemplation and reflection, and maybe even inspiration and vision of what I want to bring in, and that feels what's most appropriate for me to hold space for. However, yeah, there is this like, oh, I should see people and hang out with people because that is like, I feel like I don't have friends, or I'm lonely, or, I wanted to have a partner, but I don't have a partner, and so I'm feeling this loneliness, so I'm going to go out with friends to mask up the fact that I don't have my new year, new love, or whatever is that, but there is obviously this subconscious stuff that's now coming out while I'm talking to you. And it feels really sensitive and tender, but just talking about this with you guys is allowing me to, and with myself, right, is allowing me to, let's be real, like I'm recording this video, the only one that's here right now is me until I share this, and then there's you guys, and but so me having this conversation with me, which I share that because that means that we don't need people to have these conversations with. We can genuinely, or yeah, maybe this is for us, for the community, for whoever is going to allow my expression to be heard, which is you watching this right now, so thank you so much. That is who this is for. That is who this is with. That is the tribe, the community, the soul fam that I wholeheartedly believe in, and honor that like my expression is my voice for me to express, but in that ends up being medicine for all who participate in that expression. And so here we are. I feel these emotions coming up, and I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna, pardon my French, I'm just gonna let myself have the day, and like whatever comes of it will come of it, and I will just honor it as such. And then my anxiety subsided like instantly, and so I was like, oh, that's what that was. It was an intuitive nudge saying like, don't worry about it, like don't put more effort into this than you need to, don't and so if you're having these like subtle anxieties or subtle feelings in your body that are arising, like check in, is this something that I need to feel? Is this something that is trying to get my attention and needs my presence? Is this an aspect of my being that needs to be heard or seen, like an inner child or a scared teenager or whatever, right? Like however it applies to you or wants to come through to you. This is just how I relate to those aspects of my being. Or is this like a traumatized 4-year-old me that's like having a breakdown and just needs a hug? Like check in with these feelings that are coming through. And then if it does happen to not resonate as like, one of the really easy ways to ask that question about anxiety is this, what was the question? It's like, is this me now? Or is this me, yeah, is this from right now? Or is this from 10 years ago? Right? And that's what we would call an emotional flashback, is like the emotions that arise that feel like a scenario that happened a long time ago, that felt traumatic or devastating or energetically very charged. He's so funny. So if you're somebody that is wanting greater emotional stability, greater understanding and awareness of your emotions, and how to navigate them more gracefully, this is the perfect practice to do that, because you become aware, you become curious, and you recognize that emotions are just messengers. They are just little communicating things saying like, hey, I don't like this, or hey, that makes me uncomfortable. As we all know, like when we're put in discomfort, our body automatically is like, there's tension in this room, like evacuate. Or that's why we have these signals. That's why, but we don't have a good practice or a good awareness as a human race around our emotions, or maybe it's more culturally, but I know that so many of us struggle with our pain. So many of us struggle with our ability to manage pain, to manage suffering, to manage the discomfort that arises. And so one of my greatest practices, studies, and favorite research is our emotions. And so in order for us to listen to what's going on in our body, we have to allow it to happen. We have to allow it to exist. So if you're experiencing this discomfort, pressure, anxiety, sadness, pain, suffering, grief, a lot of the times happiness and joy isn't a hard one to experience because we like it and we let it happen. Today is December 31st. And I'm feeling a deep collective grief. I expected to wake up this morning and feel really good and gung-ho. And I think I'm using the mic on these, so I need to keep them close. And I didn't wake up feeling that way. I woke up feeling a lot of grief in my body and then anxiety to follow. And I realized that it's a collective grieving that's happening. I tend to move through and transmute, whatever you want to call that. But transmutation is definitely the word that resonates for me. Collective pains and collective, I always feel what's going on in the world. And I think that's why I have to live where I live, and I'm isolated how I am, and I live alone and all these things, because I am energetically, I feel what's going on around me, whether I like it or not. And so one of the things that I know I do a lot is feel through what the collective is going through and hold space for that to occur, and go from its grievance to its freeness, or it's all, emotions are like rivers flowing. If we would just let them run, they would run right by us, and it wouldn't be something that we clung on to or got stuck in. Sometimes we jump in the river and we're like, no, this can't happen. You're not allowed to be here, grief. This is bad. You're not here at the appropriate time. You need to go away. And you stop grief in its tracks. And when we don't stop the emotion in its tracks and let it run its course, and when we learn how to do so in a manageably, respectful and honorable way, we don't let them get out of a comfort zone or inappropriate, right? We don't lash out, and we don't aggressively hurt people, or because we have practiced and have greater awareness of how to let them flow with ease and grace, simply because it feels better for you and it feels better for all involved. Let's be honest, we lashing out, it doesn't feel really good for anybody. You can say yeah, sure, that made me feel better, but it doesn't. It just ends up being one of those inappropriate ways that you're I definitely could have handled that better. So not to trail off too far, but our emotions are messengers. Let's come back to that and just to listen to your emotions is to take a breath into them. Okay, I'm having this uncomfortable feeling in my body. Ugh, I don't like it. And you can be honest with yourself. I'm not asking you to sugarcoat it and be oh, this is so fun. No, ew, what is this in my body? But let it exist. Let it be there, because that is all it wants. A lot of the times, grief in my body, what do you need? Hug. It just wants a hug. But if I'm sitting here going, what the is this? Go away. I don't want you here. I'm supposed to feel better, not like this. We're looking grief in the eyes and basically not honoring it for what it is. If grief was just a small child or a younger version of you that was just tugging on your leg, being hey, I hurt myself, can you, or hey, I'm hurting, or I'm feeling this pain. You know, we would bend down and hopefully give that little one a hug. Like, be like, hey, I got you. You're going to be okay. And it's okay to feel like this sometimes. And know that, like, this feeling isn't, like, the foundation to whatever's building in your life. It's just a little bit of loving that needs to be met in this moment. And that's it. Let us not get stuck in the, oh, here we go. It's happening again. Of course it's happening again. This always happens to me, or whatever that is for you. I know, like, I'm like, here we go. I'm feeling this exhaustion and this tension and this sadness and this grief. Like, this is the rest of my life. Fuck. And it's momentary. I'm laughing at me because that is literally what goes on in my brain. It's momentary and it just wants to pass. And once we like let it pass and the more we let that river run, the more we just feel better because we let the river run. And the grief passes and the sadness passes, and what follows is lightheartedness, freedom, inner peace. But if these emotions are arising and they're not coming from that place that you know needs to be seen in your heart, or a younger version of you, or, you know, this could be your intuitive system. This is like what I really wanted to talk about, but we trailed off in a totally different direction in the emotional world. But they're both significant because I feel like it's one or the other, really, when it comes down to it. When we're dealing with our inner pain, our inner discomfort, our inner disharmony, you could say. And the intuitive aspect of it is recognizing, okay, I wasn't feeling anxiety a minute ago. There's nothing in my external reality that is giving me any immediate need for attention because of fear. Like, what's going on in my body that's causing fear? What's going on in my body that's causing dis-ease? What's going on in my body that's causing whatever that is for you, disharmony, suffering, right? And check in. And the more we're able to check in and communicate, the greater the communication will get. So it's like learning a language at the beginning. You have to allow yourself to learn the language of your intuition, and that is your emotions. So if you can get a little bit of curiosity of why you're feeling anxiety or discomfort, you know, it's the same thing of like when we feel hot and cold. You're like, oh, I feel cold, I need a sweater. Oh, I feel hot, I'm going to turn the heat down, like, or turn the AC on, or whatever. We recognize that's the body communicating to us. But when it comes to our emotions from inside our being, we don't fully understand that side of the communication when it's not coming from our external world, right? We know if we have to run from a tiger, we're like, obviously I'm running from a tiger. But if the tiger's in your head or in your heart, because we are such geniuses, we know how to trick ourselves into all kinds of nonsense and tell ourselves all kinds of stories that are totally made up and actually never even happened. Yet our internal system believes them. That's how genius we are. So to tap into this geniusness is to recognize, like, one, like, my being is a genius and I can trick myself into things. And so I'm going to become aware of that and learn how to trick myself, basically, or see through the trickery. Because if you're smart enough to trick yourself, you're smart enough to see through the trickery. And that is what's beautiful about that. So recognize, okay, I'm feeling this feeling. Body, what are you communicating to me? and see if a different feeling arises. See if you just like are desperate for a deep breath. My body communicates that to me all the time. It's just like, will you just sigh? Because when you sigh, it releases, it reduces cortisol in the body. And when you're in a fight or flight response, which is also like survival mode, which a lot of us are in like all the time, that sigh is reducing the cortisol that you have going on from your survival response. And so these are just little nuggets that hopefully can be of benefit in some way, shape, or form on your emotional journey. Because life is definitely an emotional journey. And I think 2025 is going to be, that time when we realize we cannot ignore, we cannot suppress what has been suppressed anymore, because I know the souls that are in resonance with what I'm talking about right now are the beings that you being here are someone who feels big and feels loudly. And I don't think that's because you have XYZ, ADHD, LMNOP. I think it's because we are the souls that have come here to transform and change the effing game, and are healing generations and bloodlines and ancestral stuff. And that's why the noise inside of us, in our emotional bodies, in our entire being is so effing loud. That's why you feel so big. That's why you feel so much, because for eons there has been this emotion, this water, this ocean of an essence. The emotions have been suppressed for so long, and we're the generations that are here to let those emotions be expressed that have been unexpressed for centuries and eons and decades and whatever eons, you know what I mean? We have come to change the game. And that means we have to get real with our emotions, curious, loving, and understanding. You know. When you know, you know. I love you guys. Have a blessed rest of your day.